Hello, I am back with another exciting episode. Today, I'm going to share with you what my plan is for the 2018 garden. I'm also going to show you what has been done in the garden so far as some new tools and some things that have already been planted. So all that's coming up next here on Smith's Gardens. One of the first things you may notice when I show you the garden plan is the amount of variety, or the lack thereof, that I have this year in the garden. I limited the variety for quite a few reasons. One, I've got a small bit of land, and if I'm going to grow any significant amount of anything, I needed to kind of limit the number of plants that I wanted to grow. Secondly, I wanted to make sure that I was only growing things that I actually ate and things that we were actually going to use in the kitchen. So that alone eliminated a lot of the other plants. Thirdly, I wanted to start working towards maybe potentially doing a market garden. So I've got plants in the garden that are geared more towards market gardening because they hit a few of the key factors for that one. Markers that makes these plants a little bit more marketable for those who are going to be doing that sort of thing. So you'll see all of that in the garden plan, and we'll go ahead and get straight into that. So this is the very crude drawing of my garden plan, and I'll kind of explain things as we go along. I'm sorry that I'm not fancy enough to do like the digital thing, but you know, this is what it is. So anyways, this would be the north end, this is the south end, which would make this the east end, and that the west end. I designed it that way so that my trellises could go along the beds on the outside here as the sun moves from the east side to the west side. So that is why I've set it up that way. There's also a fifth bed that's not in the plan that sits on this side, on the east side, along the length of the whole garden, and that's where my trellised melons and my pumpkin will go. So just wanted to also include that in there, but I didn't really feel the need to draw that up. This stuff I needed to draw up, and you'll see in a minute. So, starting over here on the north end of the property, I've got tomatoes that are going to be trellised up here. I've got peas that will be right next to them. The peas are actually already in the ground, along with the next layer here, which is going to be carrots, and that should all take up about half of this 3-foot wide beds. There's 3 feet by 12 feet is how big my beds are. After the carrots are planted, I've got a row of peppers growing in, and then a row of garlic and a half row of onions. So a half row of garlic and half row of onions. The garlic variety that's in there is chestnut red. And this is also what's in the second bed as we move down here. So as we move to the second bed, you'll see I've got salad mix, kale, and spinach. I actually flip-flopped these when I was planting them. Not that it makes too big of a difference, but the salad greens are actually over here, and my spinach is over on this side. Not really that big of a deal. The kale's right down the center of that. And around the perimeter of this, I have the chestnut red garlic, and I've got some white onions and some yellow onion seeds that are sprouted throughout. So that is kind of what's going on with that bed. In the next bed, as we move down more towards the south end of the garden, I've got various variety of squashes that will be planted throughout here, and in between them I'm going to put sunflowers. Sunflowers work pretty well with squashes because they grow up tall and that sort of thing to get their sunlight. The squashes can kind of sit underneath and get the sunlight from down there. So they play nicely with each other, and I'm going to plant them together and see how that goes this year. Last year, because I didn't have any row covers, the birds kept coming in and eating the sunflower microgreens as they popped out of the ground. They kind of were eating the sunflower shoots, which was rather annoying. So this year I will definitely have sunflowers, and I can kind of report on how well those do. Anyways, moving on down. I've got cabbage here on this side of the last bed on the south side, and Brussels along that side. There's something else in there. Oh, I think there's broccoli and, in fact, I know there's broccoli and cauliflower in the middle between them also. Okay, so I know that that's another thing that is growing in that particular row there. Next to that is a couple rows of beets. I did that for a couple of reasons. I like the beet roots, which is fine, but I also eat the beet greens. In fact, I eat them like chard, and I would challenge anybody to tell the difference between a chard green and a beet green, because they're from the same daggone family. So they taste almost identical, especially in the baby leaf form, which is when I harvest them. So that'll be great. I'll have several harvests of those beet greens, and then I'll get the beet roots later on, which will be even better. Next to that is a row of Killarney red, or rather I should say a half row of the Killarney red garlic, and then a half row of the Persian star garlic. I've never grown garlic before, so this year me growing all of this garlic all over the garden is a big success for me, and it's already taken off. It was one of those things I had to overwinter, so I'll show you that at the end of the video when I take you out back and show you what started. You'll be able to see those very easily, but pretty proud of that. And then lastly, on the last trellis here, we've got Malabar spinach, which did really good last year, and then cucumbers, which did not do so good last year. Again, I think partly because of them getting plucked up, and then secondly because of disease, because they got planted so late in the season. So getting an earlier start this year on all of that. And much of this is already planted for me, like the squashes, the sunflowers are in. This whole bed is planted. Half of this bed is planted over here, and yes, half of this bed also. I've got beets in the ground. I've got the cabbages, the Brussels, and the broccoli already in the ground. So all that stuff is already in there and growing, and I'm almost done with my spring planting. Anyways, let's show you the stuff that's online, the plan that's on there, and I'll kind of show you the online tools that I've been using thanks to a couple of my online friends. So we'll get to that here in a moment. The first thing I wanted to show you on the computer is actually a tool that I got from another YouTuber. He has his own channel called 1 Yard Revolution. His name is Patrick Nolan. And if you're watching, Patrick, thanks for this awesome planting tool. This is his spring planting tool, and I adapted it by putting my last frost states here where I'm waving the cursor at right now. So let's go ahead and show you how this tool works. As you'll see here, he's got several varieties of plants over on the left side, and you'll see a lot of these different dash marks, and this first one is just yellow and brown. And I'm going to start at the very top here. The yellow indicates when you can start plants or should start plants indoors, and the brown lines indicate when you can sow out or when you can take your transplants and put them outside. It tells you the best dates as far as that goes, based on each plant variety there. So I'm just going to very slowly kind of scroll down through a couple of these so you guys can kind of see how it's all spaced out. There's beets there. Shows you the best time to plant those in the ground. I've got cauliflower that I just got done planting out a couple weeks ago. So you guys get the idea with this. And you can use this anywhere. Again, if you just update these numbers here, like I'm going to pluck in a random number right now. Actually, I can adjust it up here. Let's make it, instead of 22, I have to remember the number 22. Oops. Let's make that number instead a 10. Boom. So if I change that to a 10, you'll notice that all of these numbers now, boom, they just changed. So I changed to a 13 now. You'll notice that the last frost date now over here is 410, and so on and so forth. So, and it changes the scale for everything throughout. So pretty nifty little formula he figured out there. Let me change it back to where I had it. In fact, I just hit that. Back. Go back. Go back. Boom. There we go. Now I got what I needed. Alrighty. So back to where I've got it. Now here's the other cool thing about this tool. He has put in the dates for if you have a single row cover. So, I need to change the date on that one. Let's change that back to 22 for this year. There, change my dates there. And now you can see with a single row cover, you can start things quite a bit earlier. So you can start beets 1, 2, 3 weeks earlier, which is pretty cool. Let's go down to another one that we like to start early. Here's cilantro. You start cilantro 1, 2, again 3 weeks earlier than what you would have normally. With double row cover, it's the same sort of idea. Again, I need to change the dates. I should do this before the video, but no big deal. Takes such a quick time to do. Boom, and it's done. And now you can see with a double row cover how much further ahead, even still, you can get some of these in the ground. And the one that really excites me, of course, these early season crops are nice to jump on the season to start there also. But if I flip all the way down here, keep scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Keep the page a scrolling. Whoops, there they are. The tomatoes with a single row. Oh no, they're not written in here. They're not in here, but imagine 6 weeks earlier planting these in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can have tomatoes in the ground at the beginning of April. Okay, and I'm not sure why it's not written in here um, on the scale here, but that's I would follow it to the T because that's exactly what it is for everything else. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks earlier, you can start tomatoes in the ground, and that'd be something I'd be interested in doing in the future. I haven't done it yet. So, at any rate, I'm still on the no cover plan, and I'm starting things right where the brown lines are. So not to get you guys confused with anything else, but I thought that was a really cool tool from Patrick Nolan and the 1 Yard Revolution um, page there. So thanks a lot for that. And next, I'll show you exactly what I'm doing. So this is the garden plant sheet that I made based on that information. And as you'll see here, these are the planting weeks or dates that or these are the weeks rather, than the actual dates that they go in or in another column. Here's every single variety I've got going up here on the side. Next to that are the days to maturity, and we add the days of maturity with the harvest. I'm sorry, let me say this the right way for you guys. I said that all weird. We add the days to maturity with the date that's sown, and hopefully that should give us when the harvest date is. So these dates here on the side are different. It's just a formula that was used um, to help me get that. And over here on the end, hopefully I'll get a scale and I can actually weigh what I harvest for each of the different varieties. So I've got each week planted out all the way throughout the season. Lots and lots and lots and lots of planting until looks like through October. We'll be putting garlic in the ground in October for the next year. And hopefully, and what I didn't put in this plan, which I'll need to amend this, are winter greens um, for the next year. I'll be getting plastic tarp and putting winter greens in, so I'll have several beds of that. But later on, more on that later. But this is just kind of my own spreadsheet that I made. I've also got a table I made, so I just know how many seeds to get and all that sort of thing. So that was what I projected as far as how many plants I'd need and that sort of thing. So, anyway, those are just a couple of the tools I'm using to help keep myself organized and know what's going on in the garden. Next thing I'll show you is actually what's out there, and that'll be coming up next. Right, try to show you guys some things out here in the garden. Okay, here's kind of a look at the whole garden here. Here's the one long bed that goes the length, and then you can see the rest of them are covered. That being the north end, and this one being the south end. So, go ahead and show you bed by bed what's been done. I didn't say much about this netting that's on here. This is insect netting. It's a really high grade stuff. I'll do another video about this stuff later, but that's all it is. It's not season extension. Anyways, here's just getting to the bed. This is the bed with the peas in it, and if you look way in the back, you can see the peas are all popped up in the back. This big green thing down front is a strawberry plant, so I'm going to let that stay there. Down the front here, I planted some onion seeds. There's a couple of them that are sprouted up there, but most of them have not. It looks like I'll have to replant those. Down a little bit further, if I zoom out, you can see all the garlic there that I overwintered. Nice big row there, so that'll be nice to have later. And the only other things that I'm waiting on in this bed are carrots, and it's taking an awfully long time for those to sprout as well. I don't see any of them. I see a bunch of weeds and stuff, so that's the only thing that should be in this bed, and it's not. So later on, this bed will also have my peppers in it, and I think there's something else that's supposed to go in here. I can't remember right off the top of my head. So anyways, that's this bed. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, down here at the second bed, then the first thing, I'll zoom out here, that you'll see is the garlic down the front here, and down at the other end, again, I think I need to replant them, but there should be onions sprouting up there. I've also got some onion sets that I need to get in here. And those onions and garlic are all around the perimeter of this bed, kind of like a protective layer from certain pests and things. This bed has a lot of leafy greens in it, so I'm going to show you the romaine lettuce there, as you can see, and the oak leaf lettuce. If I zoom out, you can see entire rows all the way down the bed. Those. That big green thing down there in the middle, again, looks like another strawberry plant. That one might have to move. I might have to get rid of that one. Move it somewhere else. Down the middle, I'll see if I can find a good one for you guys to see. Yeah, it looks like I've got something in here that's eating them up. So I'm going to have to figure out what that is. But right there you can see there's a kale plant. There's another one. There's another one. So I planted a whole row of them after the lettuce. And then just beyond those are spinach. So you see the little baby spinach. Again, that runs the whole length of the bed. So that is what's in this bed. Go ahead and move on down to bed 3. Alright, I'm not going to uncover the third bed because I literally just a couple days ago planted the squash in there. So this bed is filled with a bunch of squash seeds and sunflower seeds. They're kind of intermixed and interplanted. There's another strawberry plant in the middle of that bed also. They just kind of popped up everywhere. I think what happened is I planted them in one bed. Yeah, way down there actually. I did plant them in that bed where they did pop up at, but I think the birds kind of spread them to other areas of the garden last year because none of it was covered up. So, anyway, here's the fourth bed. I'll go ahead and get to that. More garlic in this bed. A whole row clear down there. So that's cool. This bed will have the tomatoes and the cucumbers. They're not in here yet. And I see some of what looks like the beet greens, the beet seeds finally popping through. That's exactly what those are. Great, yay! It's the first day I saw that. I actually was expecting to tell you that there's nothing in here, but yeah, see, there they are. And there's some weed grass in there. I'll pluck that out, but yeah. So I'll use the beets both for the greens and for the roots. So I'll eat the greens first, and then the roots afterwards. There's nothing in the other bed here. I'll show you the fifth bed. It's not covered, and there's nothing in it except for, again, another strawberry plant. And these are some volunteer plants. I think I had an extra. Well, one of them's a garlic plant, and I think I had an extra one, and I just decided to put it there. That onion plant is actually a volunteer plant or something. I might have forgotten to dig it up last year, and it just stayed there. So I'm going to leave that there. This bed will eventually be filled with 3 varieties of melons, and at the very end, we're going to trellis up a pumpkin. And this will all be trellised upwards, so that saves the garden a lot of space. So that'll be the 5th bed. And that's pretty much everything. Oh, composter's still in the corner. That hadn't changed from last year, so it's still close to everything. So that's it. That's my video. If you liked it, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to see more videos. Talk to you later.